Imagine waking up on a Sunday morning, the world still quiet, the air still soft, and your heart carrying the weight of an entire week that tried to break you. Before the noise begins, before responsibilities rush in, before your mind starts running toward the things that drained you, there is a sacred moment waiting for you. A moment where you can sit with your own soul and breathe again. A moment where you can close your eyes and whisper a prayer that reconnects you to peace, to clarity, to strength you thought you lost somewhere between yesterday's worries and tomorrow's expectations. This is not just another Sunday. This is your reset, your reminder, your gentle invitation to rise. Because no matter how heavy your week has been, no matter how tired your spirit feels, there is something powerful about choosing to begin your day with God. That quiet moment becomes a turning point, a spark of hope, a soft rebirth. And sometimes all it takes is one sincere prayer to transform a weary heart into a steady one. One peaceful morning to rebuild your strength. And one whisper of faith to remind you that you are not alone in this journey. Beginning your Sunday with silence and prayer is more than a ritual. It is an intimate conversation with the one who already understands every unspoken feeling in your heart. When the world is still, when the noise hasn't awakened yet, that quiet moment becomes a doorway into peace you cannot find anywhere else. There is something deeply sacred about the early light of Sunday morning, when the mind has not yet been invaded by worry and the heart is still soft enough to be shaped. In that softness, prayer becomes like warm sunlight on a cold window, slowly melting the heaviness you carry through the week. Every breath becomes intentional. Every thought becomes clearer. Every emotion becomes more honest. It is in this sacred pause that you begin to see your life not through stress or fear, but through the gentle eyes of hope. When you sit in prayer, you are not performing a duty, but returning to a place your soul recognizes. The world spends the entire week pulling at you, demanding your strength, your patience, your time, your energy. But Sunday morning gives you permission to stop running and simply be. Prayer becomes the one space where you do not have to impress anyone, prove anything, or hide the weight you carry. In that moment, you can breathe fully. You can let your guard down. You can speak honestly, not just with your lips, but with the deepest parts of your spirit. Silence has a way of revealing what you ignored all week. It shows you the thoughts you pushed aside, the emotions you didn't have time to feel, the wounds you covered with busyness. And instead of judging you, prayer meets you right where you are. It is a gentle invitation to slow down, to reconnect, to remember that you are held even when you feel scattered. The world teaches you to start your mornings by chasing goals, checking notifications, and running after demands. But prayer teaches you to start by grounding yourself in what cannot be shaken. It builds a foundation for the day, a foundation made of peace rather than anxiety. There's a calm power in knowing that before you face anyone else, you have first met with God. That morning conversation strengthens you in ways no motivational quote, no loud encouragement, no external validation can replicate. Because prayer does not hype your emotions, it stabilizes your spirit. It quiets the storms inside you long before you step into the storms outside. And when you walk through the day with that inner stillness, you begin to handle challenges differently. You respond instead of react. You breathe instead of panic. You pause instead of break. The beauty of beginning Sunday with prayer is that it changes how you carry yourself. The peace you feel in that moment follows you into the rest of your day. You start seeing blessings where you once saw burdens, opportunities where you once saw obstacles, and growth where you once saw failure. Even the simple routines of life feel lighter. You move with intention instead of rushing, and you listen more closely to what your heart truly needs. Prayer gives you clarity. And clarity gives you strength. Not the loud strength that demands attention, but the quiet strength that holds you steady. It is in those moments of stillness that you regain the pieces of yourself you may have lost during the week. The fatigue, the confusion, the emotional weight. all of it begins to loosen. You begin to heal in places you didn't realize were hurting. Because prayer is not just a request, it is a release. It allows you to let go of what you cannot control and trust that there is a purpose unfolding even when you cannot see it. Starting your Sunday with silence and prayer becomes a gentle act of rebellion against anxiety, stress, and exhaustion. Instead of letting the world set the tone of your day, you set it yourself by choosing peace first. That choice transforms everything. It transforms your mood, your thoughts, your energy, your outlook. It transforms the way you approach people and the way you approach yourself. And even though the moment is simple, the impact is profound, because prayer aligns you with the deepest truths of who you are and who you are becoming. Strength that is born in private moments is a kind of strength the world rarely understands. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, and it does not seek applause. It grows quietly in the hidden places of your life. In the nights when you stay awake, trying to hold yourself together. In the mornings when you push through the heaviness no one knows you carry. In the silent conversations you have with God when your heart feels too tired to speak. These private battles shape you more than any public victory ever will. They refine you, discipline you, and prepare you for seasons you do not even know are coming. Real transformation does not happen when the world is watching. It happens when you are alone with your thoughts, your fears, your hopes, and your deepest questions. The moments when you confront yourself from the inside are the moments when you grow the most. You learn where you are wounded and where you are strong. You learn what you truly believe and what you were only pretending to believe. You learn the difference between what comforts you and what strengthens you. And these lessons, quiet and invisible as they are, build a foundation inside you that nothing on the outside can easily shake. There is a sacredness in the struggles people never see. They are the tears wiped away before you walk out of the door, the prayers whispered so quietly that even your own voice feels distant, the decisions you make to keep going when quitting seems easier. Every time you choose to stand up again in private, you develop a resilience that becomes part of your character. You become the kind of person who does not crumble easily, who does not break when life applies pressure. You become someone who can endure storms with a calmness that surprises even you. Because you have already fought the hardest battles in the silence of your own heart. The world celebrates the visible strength, confidence, achievements, progress, success. But the invisible strength is what makes the visible possible. Without those unseen moments of endurance, discipline, and faith, you would not have the capacity to rise publicly. Private strength is the root, public strength is the fruit. And until the root is deep enough, the fruit cannot last. That is why the struggles you face alone are not a sign of weakness, but a powerful sign of preparation. They are not punishments, but investments into the person you are becoming. There is also a beauty in knowing that your strength does not depend on other people noticing your effort. When you grow in private, it means you are not doing it for validation. You are doing it because you want to be whole, because you want to be better, because you want to fulfill the purpose placed inside you. That kind of growth is pure and authentic. It does not fade when people stop clapping. It does not collapse when people criticize you. It is grounded in who you are, not in what others think of you. Private moments teach you humility. They remind you that you are human, that you have limits, that you need grace. They also remind you that you are stronger than you realize, that you have survived things you never talk about, that you have faced your fears alone and still kept moving. This humility becomes a strength in itself because it helps you walk through life without pretending to be perfect. You carry yourself with quiet confidence, knowing that your strength is real, not performed. In the hidden battles, you also learn patience. Transformation takes time, and private struggles slow you down long enough to face what you would otherwise avoid. You learn that healing is not a straight line, that growth is not instant, that progress is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. You stop expecting yourself to be strong all the time and start appreciating the strength it takes simply to keep going. Private strength also deepens your connection to God. When no one else is there, when you have no audience, when you have no one to impress, you turn to the one who sees you completely. And in that honest, unfiltered space, you discover that you are never truly alone. Every tear, every question, every moment of weakness becomes a conversation with the divine. Those quiet exchanges build a faith that is not dependent on circumstances, but rooted in trust. The strength born in private moments becomes the quiet armor you wear into the world. It is the reason you survive storms others think should have broken you. It is the reason your spirit remains steady even when life shakes your surroundings. It is the strength that carries you, shapes you, and prepares you for the calling that waits ahead. The idea of the girl next door is often treated as something simple, gentle, ordinary. But when you look deeper, it becomes a powerful symbol for the kind of strength, purity, and authenticity that many people spend their whole lives trying to reclaim. She represents the everyday human being. The one who doesn't ask for the spotlight, who doesn't try to impress, who doesn't dress her struggles in fancy words or dramatic gestures. She is the person who carries both softness and courage in equal measure. The one who lives quietly but feels deeply. The one who fights battles no one sees yet, still finds a reason to smile the next morning. This metaphor becomes even more meaningful when you connect it with the spiritual journey, because true spirituality isn't about perfection or grand displays of holiness. It's about sincerity, humility, and the courage to stay open-hearted in a world that constantly tries to harden you. The girl next door carries a quiet strength that doesn't need to be announced. She doesn't chase validation because her heart is anchored in something deeper than attention. She knows how to cry alone without collapsing, how to rise after setbacks without turning bitter, and how to appreciate the simple things that others overlook. She understands that beauty is not loud and strength. Learning to rise again after difficult weeks is one of the quiet triumphs of the human spirit. No one sees the full weight of what you carry Monday through Saturday. No one hears the thoughts that swirl in your mind, the worries that steal your sleep, or the disappointments that sit heavy on your chest. Yet Sunday arrives like a soft reminder that you are allowed to breathe again, that you are allowed to start over, that no matter how overwhelming the past days have been, you still have the strength to stand up and move forward. A difficult week does not define you. It simply reveals the places where you are growing, stretching, and learning to trust something bigger than your struggle. The process of rising is not always graceful, but it is always meaningful. When a week breaks you down, it can make you feel smaller, scattered, exhausted. You may question your abilities, your direction, your purpose. You may feel disappointed in yourself for not handling things better. But the truth is that difficult weeks do not come to destroy you. They come to awaken the resilience that lives inside you. They pull out the strength you didn't know you had, the patience you never practiced before, and the wisdom that can only come from experience. Rising again is not about pretending you're unaffected. It's about acknowledging your wounds and choosing to move anyway. That choice alone makes you stronger than you realize. Sunday becomes a spiritual reset, not because the day itself holds magic, but because it gives you permission to pause. It gives you space to release what hurt you, reflect on what taught you, and realign yourself with the person you're trying to become. When you rise after a difficult week, it is not a sudden jump, but a slow rebuilding. You don't need to feel powerful to rise. You only need to feel willing. You take small steps. Resting, breathing, praying, reconnecting with your purpose. Each small step becomes part of a larger transformation. Rising is rarely loud and dramatic. Often it is as gentle as refusing to give up. There's a beauty in the way your spirit heals in the quiet moments. It happens when you finally allow yourself to rest without guilt. It happens when you admit you're tired and still find a spark of hope inside you. It happens when you take one brave breath after another. You start seeing progress not in big achievements, but in the way you no longer let fear control your decisions. You rise because something inside you whispers that your story is not over. That whisper is often faint, but it is enough to move you into a new week with renewed strength. Difficult weeks can make you feel disconnected from yourself. They scatter your thoughts, drain your energy, and blur your sense of direction. Rising again is the process of gathering yourself back together. You collect the pieces that were shaken. You comfort the parts of you that were hurting, and you remind yourself of your worth. This inner rebuilding helps you approach the coming days with more clarity, more peace, and more emotional strength. It's not about getting back to who you were before the struggle. It's about becoming someone wiser and more grounded because of it. In rising again, you also learn humility. You learn that you cannot control everything, that you cannot force life to go your way, and that sometimes the only thing you can do is show up and try again. This humility is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in honesty. It teaches you to rely on God's guidance, to trust the process even when it feels slow, and to believe that what feels like a setback may actually be a setup for something greater. Rising is an act of faith as much as it is an act of determination. Most importantly, rising after a difficult week creates a deeper connection between you and your inner strength. You start recognizing that every challenge leaves behind a lesson, every hardship leaves behind wisdom, and every disappointment leaves behind a new layer of resilience. You understand that you are stronger today because of what you survived yesterday. You stop seeing difficulties as signs that you are failing and start seeing them as opportunities to evolve. When you rise again at the end of a hard week, you do so not because life suddenly became easy, but because you became stronger. You learned, you endured, you grew, and you refused to let the past 7 days determine the next 7. That quiet, determined rise is the heart of spiritual growth. Choosing peace over pressure is one of the most transformative decisions a person can make, yet it is also one of the hardest. Life is full of demands that constantly pull you in different directions. Expectations from work, responsibilities at home, emotional burdens, and the silent weight of trying to meet everyone's standards can easily drown you. Week after week, you may find yourself chasing deadlines, fulfilling obligations, and running on empty without even realizing how much it is draining you. Pressure becomes so normal that you forget there is another way to live. But the moment you consciously choose peace, something inside you shifts. You stop letting the world dictate your pace, and you begin honoring the rhythm your soul truly needs. Peace is not the absence of responsibility. It is the presence of clarity. It is the quiet voice inside you that tells you what truly matters, what you can let go of, and what simply isn't worth sacrificing your mental and spiritual health for. When you choose peace, you no longer allow anxiety to make decisions for you. You create mental space to think clearly, to breathe deeply, to feel grounded again. Instead of reacting to every demand with panic, you respond with intention. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but with every small step toward peace, you reclaim a part of yourself that pressure stole. Pressure thrives in noise, chaos, and constant movement. Peace lives in stillness, reflection, and intentional choices. Many people spend their days trying to prove their worth, working harder, pushing themselves beyond their limits, saying yes to things that drain them, apologizing for needing rest, and trying to maintain an image of strength even when they feel exhausted on the inside. Choosing peace means stepping away from this cycle. It means understanding that your value does not come from how much you can endure, how busy you are, or how productive you appear. Your worth is inherent, unchanging, and not dependent on meeting anyone's expectations. When you choose peace, you begin to see life differently. You start noticing the simple things you once overlooked, the sound of your own breathing, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the quiet comfort of prayer, the beauty of slow mornings, the healing that comes from being fully present. Peace gives you the ability to appreciate moments instead of rushing through them. It softens your heart, clears your mind, and reminds you that life is not meant to be lived in survival mode. You deserve more than constant stress and pressure. You deserve stillness, balance, and emotional freedom. Letting go of pressure also allows you to reconnect with yourself. When you are always overwhelmed, it becomes easy to lose sight of who you are and what you want. You become defined by tasks instead of intentions, by responsibilities instead of dreams. Peace brings you back to your inner voice, the one that knows your fears, your hopes, your boundaries, and your truth. You start making decisions not based on fear of disappointing others, but based on what aligns with your growth. You stop apologizing for needing rest. You stop forcing yourself into situations that drain you, and you stop pretending to be okay when you need healing. Peace gives you permission to be human. There is also spiritual power in choosing peace. It means trusting that you do not have to carry every burden alone. It means believing that things will unfold as they should, even if you release control. Prayer becomes deeper when it comes from a place of surrender instead of desperation. You begin to understand that peace is not something you chase, it is something you allow. It enters your life when you stop clinging to stress as if it defines your identity. It grows when you let faith replace fear, and when you stop fighting battles that are not yours to fight. Pressure tells you that everything must happen now. Peace teaches you that everything has its time. Pressure pushes you to compete. Peace encourages you to grow. Pressure drains your energy. Peace restores it. When you choose peace, your relationships become healthier because you are no longer reacting from frustration or exhaustion. Your decisions become wiser because you are thinking from a clear mind rather than a panicked one. Your life becomes more meaningful because you are focusing on what truly nourishes your soul. Choosing peace over pressure is a lifelong practice, but every time you choose it, you honor your well-being, your purpose, and your spiritual journey. You learn that you do not need to carry the world on your shoulders. You learn that peace is not weakness, but wisdom. And you learn that the more you embrace peace, the more you become the person you are meant to be. Trusting that prayer is a bridge between where you are and who you are becoming is one of the deepest acts of faith a person can embrace. It means believing that the words you whisper in silence have the power to shape a future you cannot yet see. It means understanding that every time you kneel, every time you close your eyes, every time you pour out your worries, something shifts, sometimes in your circumstances, sometimes in your heart, sometimes in the path ahead. Prayer connects your present challenges with your future growth. It links your current weakness with the strength you will one day carry. It takes the raw, unfiltered emotions inside you and transforms them into seeds of transformation that bloom in their own time. Prayer is not magic, and it is not meant to instantly erase all your problems. Instead, it acts as a bridge that carries you from confusion to clarity, from fear to trust, from exhaustion to renewal. When you pray, you acknowledge that you are not walking through life alone. You recognize that there is a higher wisdom guiding your steps, even when the road feels uncertain. This trust does not always come easily. Sometimes you pray and feel nothing. Sometimes you ask for answers that do not come right away. Sometimes you want immediate relief, but receive patience instead. Yet even in those moments, prayer is working within you, softening your heart, strengthening your spirit, and preparing you for the things you are destined to step into. There are seasons in life where you feel stuck, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You may feel like you are standing still while the world moves forward without you. You may feel unsure of your purpose or overwhelmed by the responsibilities placed on your shoulders. Prayer becomes the bridge that carries you across these seasons. When you speak your truth to God, you give your fears permission to breathe and your hopes permission to grow. You may not see the outcome instantly, but prayer begins to realign your heart with possibility. It reminds you that your struggles are temporary, but the strength you gain from them is permanent. When you pray for healing, your heart begins to open. When you pray for guidance, your mind becomes more attentive to signs and clarity. When you pray for strength, you start noticing your own resilience in moments you once thought you would break. This is why prayer is a bridge. It not only connects you to God, but connects you to the future version of yourself who has already overcome what you are currently facing. Prayer gives you a glimpse of who you can become when you stop depending solely on your own strength and begin relying on divine timing. Trusting prayer also teaches you patience. It teaches you to release your need to control every detail. It teaches you that delay is not denial and that silence is not abandonment. Some prayers are answered quietly through inner peace. Some are answered through new opportunities. Some are answered through people who unexpectedly enter your life. And some prayers lead you down paths you did not expect but desperately needed. Trusting prayer means understanding that every step you take in faith builds the bridge ahead of you, even if it is being constructed in ways you cannot see. There is something powerful about praying in your weakest moments. It feels vulnerable, raw, honest. But those moments become defining. Every tear, every plea, every uncertain whisper becomes part of your transformation. Your prayers do not always change the situation immediately, but they change you. They make you braver, softer, wiser, more compassionate, and more grounded. Over time, you begin to notice that the things you once feared no longer frighten you the same way. The challenges that once felt impossible now feel manageable. The wounds that once felt deep no longer define you. This is the quiet work of prayer, building a bridge beneath your feet. The person you are becoming is shaped not by perfect days, but by the moments you choose faith in the midst of uncertainty. Prayer helps you walk toward that future self with confidence. It helps you release the weight of your past, detach from the anxieties of the present, and walk toward growth with grace. Trusting prayer means accepting that God is writing a story for you that is still unfolding, and even when the chapters are difficult, they are leading you somewhere meaningful. When you trust that prayer is a bridge, you stop worrying about how you will get through everything and start believing that you will. You begin to live with hope instead of fear, purpose instead of confusion, and strength instead of exhaustion. Prayer becomes the path that leads you from who you were, through who you are, into who you are destined to become. As this journey comes to a close, remember that every Sunday morning is more than just another start to another week. It is a gentle invitation to rise above the weight you carry, to reconnect with the strength inside you, and to return to the quiet place where your spirit feels held and understood. The storms of life will come, the pressure will return, and the world will continue to demand more from you than you sometimes feel able to give. But when you begin with prayer, when you choose peace over pressure, when you trust that even your silent tears are seen, you step into life with a courage that cannot be shaken. You become the kind of person who does not merely survive the week, but grows through it. You remember that every private struggle, every whispered prayer, every quiet act of resilience is shaping you into someone wiser, softer, stronger, and more aligned with your purpose. This is the beauty of a Sunday started in faith. It reminds you that no matter how heavy the past has been, the future is still open, waiting, full of possibility. Thank you for listening, for showing up with an open heart, and for choosing to invest in your own growth. May your week ahead be filled with peace that calms your spirit, strength that carries you through challenges, and hope that lights your path even on the hardest days. Good luck on your journey, and may every step you take be guided, protected, and blessed.